I'm working on the fourth and final layer of planking on the bottom. I just got these two big pieces done. I did them, I mean, they're 8 feet long, and I just did them all as one piece, and it's a little tricky to do that. Because it's just a lot of epoxy to mix. And so, again, this is 4mm ply. And so what I did for each of these is I mixed 32 ounces of, I use silver tip epoxy, and that tends to be more for encapsulating and fiberglassing, but I thicken it when I need to. And the reason I use it, again, I've mentioned this before, is because of the longer hardener time. I get the long hardener, slow hardener, I guess it's called. And so what I do, again, is whichever half I'm working on, I did one at a time, and I would have it flipped over, and I would encapsulate the boat with unthickened silver tip, and then I encapsulate the piece, the back side of the piece, with unthickened silver tip epoxy, and then I thicken the rest. And when I did this for each piece, I didn't use 16 ounces to encapsulate both, a little less than that. And then I thickened the rest with these glass bubbles. I used to use microspheres from Glenelg, but now it's switched over. And so it's glass bubbles, and it's the company that bought Glenelg out, and that's what they sell, which is very similar stuff. And so then I take the thickened epoxy, and it's like cake batter consistency, and then I spread it on the boat where it's going to go, where the piece is going to go. And then I have a little bit left, and then I spread kind of as much as kind of thin coating on the back side of the piece. And I use this trowel to spread the epoxy, but I use this straight edge. I don't use that jaggedy edge, just because it's not that thick. And to mix the 32 ounces, I used a real, you need a pretty thick mixing stick too. And so these two are done. And comment also, what I did through the third layers, I put screws every 4 inches along the chine and along, well, the chine, and then my intent is to do it along the keel. And what I did here is, you can't see it under here, but I left a gap where the hole's going to be drilled through the boat for the prop shaft, and where the strut, which I have here now, just arrived, and it is heavy duty. And so where that's going to be mounted, I didn't put screws in. And then up here, so I have kind of a gap, a big gap, so I've got some screws here on either side of the keel, and then back the last 1.5 feet or so. And I stopped here because there's going to be a fin that I'm going to put somewhere right in this area. And so my intent is to then put screws on either side of the keel. And then what I meant to do is every foot or so, put screws starting from the back every foot or so, kind of in the middle, all the way up. So since I forgot to do that before I put these pieces down, is I will, I'm gonna go ahead and drive screws through this, and then I'll fill them in, and then I'll go ahead and do this on up. And it's a similar thing what I did in the sides underneath here. I didn't really talk about it in the video, but I have screws every 4 inches along the chine on the sides and along the shear, and then I have like a row in the middle, roughly about every foot or so. I think that's what I did. So that's the latest update. So I'll be continuing on with this fourth and final layer of planking. One thing I forgot to mention in the last video about spreading the thickened epoxy after these two halves or two sides are encapsulated is I said I use this trowel. Well, I use this edge of the trowel to spread it mostly, and then I take a chip brush, cut off the bristles so they're 3/4 of an inch or so. Ooh, lost my focus there. And then I use that to kind of spread it a little more evenly. That is one thing that I do. And I did that with other, when I did the other cold molded planking too. Or, yeah, planking. So That is one thing I did. So just wanted to clarify that. So I confirmed the location of the batten here in the middle, where I'm gonna drive screws about every 1 foot, like I mentioned, kind of all the way down. And the way that I confirm that is I have these magnets, little disc magnets, and what I do is I put it close to where I think the batten is underneath, and then I crawl under there and I take another one of these and I put up in the boat until I feel it, and then I slide it over till it's contacting the batten, and then that helps me locate it. And so I did that like here, roughly in the middle, and about 8 feet down, just to kind of confirm the line. So that's how I do it anyway, and it works pretty good.